Revlon creates Color Stay.
Intimate by Revlon. Colors Unlimited by Revlon.
The most elegant idea in makeup since a lady first powdered her nose.
So girls, be smart. Use only the best.
In this video, I'm going to take you on a journey through the history of Revlon and show you how it went from being one of the most successful beauty companies in the world to filing for bankruptcy. Hello lovelies, my name is Laura, and in this video, I'm going to talk about one of the biggest beauty brands in the world, Revlon. You might have heard of them before, but what you probably don't know is that they've had a pretty tumultuous history from being one of the most successful companies in the world to filing for bankruptcy. I'm going to take you on a journey through their history and show you what happened along the way. After struggling to manage its rising debt, Revlon, the once-loved mainstay of beauty counters, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in 2022. Once a dominant force in the beauty sector, Revlon has recently seen a number of setbacks, including revenue declines brought on by the pandemic, increased competition from hip, digitally native beauty businesses, and logistical issues resulting from the global supply chain crisis. As it works to restructure and revive the company, the corporation predicted that it will be able to secure a $575 million loan in bankruptcy financing from present lenders. Revlon was a major participant in popular culture before the cosmetics giant's present difficulties, thanks to its eye-catching advertising campaigns and numerous celebrity endorsements. Let's take a trip down memory lane and look more closely at the brand's growth and decline of Revlon through the years. Revlon, which began as a modest nail polish company in 1932, grew to one of the most biggest cosmetics corporations in the US, offering a full line of skincare, hair care, and makeup products. Charles Revson, one of the company's founders, has received a lot of credit for its success. Charles Revson has been the subject of a great deal of writing. Much of it is quite unfavorable. Charles Revson was a man of unwavering determination and drive, wholly committed to his business, regardless of everything else about him, including ugly, crass, lonely, clever, inarticulate, insecure, generous, honest, merciless, and complicated. He was also a perfectionist. The new company was going to be called Revlac, which was a merger of Revson and Lachman, but it didn't seem right. As a result, the letter L was substituted for the letter S in Revson, and Revlon was founded in March 1932 at 38 West 21st Street in New York. The following year, Charles Revson was elected president as a newly formed Revlon Nail Enamel Corporation. Joseph Revson served as a treasurer and general manager, and Charles Lachman served as vice president and technical advisor. Martin Revson, the youngest Revson sibling, would work for the company as its marketing manager in 1935. In the midst of the Great Depression, it is commonly claimed that Charles Revson took a major risk by quitting a paid position at Elka to strike out on his own. However, the danger may have not been as great as it first looks. According to all accounts, Elka was a fairly tiny company, and since Revson likely earned the majority of his money through commissions, stepping out on his own and working for himself could have been a step up. The absence of a steady supply of nail polish was the largest danger Revson faced in his new business. The Dresden Chemical Company was owned by the family of Charles Lachman's wife, Ruth Young, which explains why Lachman was so crucial to the company and why he was awarded a half share. Lachman's participation was contingent on Dresden providing nail polish to Revlon on credit. They created nail polish possibly even for Elka. Additionally, it appears that nail polish sales did not endure the decline that other cosmetics did in the 1930s. The advertising agency for Q-Tex, J. Walter Thompson Company, noted that manicure sales had increased between 1929 and 1932. After a trend of consistent sales growth since 1915, the overall dollar sales volume for Q-Tex manicure products has increased by 28% over the 3 Depression years following 1929. The biggest challenge Revson had as a salesperson was how to outperform the opposition. Northam Warren, the owner of Q-Tex, Glazo, and Peggy Sage brands, was the biggest nail polish manufacturer at the time. Other notable companies included Bluebird, Lacrosse, later Shen Yu, and Durogloss. Revlon not only endured, but also thrived. Sales were only $4,000 in the first 10 months of operation, but they grew to a whopping $11,000 in 1933 and a whopping US $1.2 million by 1940. Not that the early years were simple, but Joseph Revson deserves a lot of credit for handling the early company's finances throughout this period. As its name might imply, Revlon began with just one item, an opaque cream nail paint. I don't know what the original colors in Revlon's 1932 collection were, but shades introduced up until America's entry into World War II included Sun Rose, Chestnut, Cubana, and Riviera, Ascot, Savoy, and Windsor, Newport and Nassau, and Sierra, to name a few. A luminous nail enamel called Pearl Glow was also introduced in 1941. It came in red and pink colors. That Revlon's nail paint was superior to competing brands is one explanation frequently provided for the company's success. This narrative claims that Charles Revson saw the potential in Elka's opaque nail paint and improved it by offering a broader variety of colors. But Elka's creation was groundbreaking. It was cloudy. On the market, there were no opaque nail paints. Charles recognized the potential in this distinction. The only red colors available for the others, which were produced with dyes, were light, medium, and dark. According to Revson, the polish, or cream enamel, as it later came to be known, might dominate the market if it were created with pigment to truly cover the nails and available in a wide range of colors. There's some truth to this story. Despite it being exaggerated, the majority of American nail polishes at the time were clear and employed dyes rather than pigments as colorants. Early in the 1930s, it was fashionable to merely paint the nail bed center, leaving the moon and free edge uncolored. This look worked great with transparent nail polishes when applied skillfully. Even though it had debuted a cream polish in 1934, Q-Tex was still advertising this nail style in 1938. Opaque or cream nail paints, which typically cover most of the entire fingernail and incorporate pigments like titanium dioxide, are applied in contrast. They were simpler to apply and camouflage nail imperfections. Even if we grant that Revlon's nail enamel was high quality and its colors were in style, I do not believe this fully accounts for the company's success in the 1930s. To do that, we must examine Revlon's sales team. Salesman Charles Revson enjoyed great success. He was vivacious, fairly attractive when he was younger, and would charm female customers by showing up with his nails painted in the newest Revlon colors. If the opportunity presented himself, he was also reputedly willing to trade sex for a Revlon sale or more counter space. Revlon increased its sales as a major cosmetics brand with a significant presence in department shops by deploying demonstrators in some locations and making payments of push money elsewhere. Over 600 demonstrators were working for the business in department stores across the nation by 1955. The demonstrators may provide real-time feedback on how the lines were moving by telephone in addition to advertising Revlon products. The fact that Revlon's early business was salon-focused aided the company's revenues during the 30s. At the 1930s, Many ladies would get their nails done in American beauty parlors while they waited for the hair to set due to the popularity of the new permanent waves. A salon manicure allowed clients to try and then purchase a Revlon nail lacquer, which was much easier for a Revlon salesman to do than a department store. Customers would spread the word, and salons that tried the product and loved it would reorder. The increased recognition of Revlon in salons also assisted sales representatives in persuading department stores to carry Revlon items. In 1935, Revlon started selling to department stores, but they didn't stop producing products to make salon manicures, a fully Revlon experience. The business offered advice to salons on how to market manicures and suggested various manicure procedures. The notion of coordinating lipsticks with nail polish dates back to the late 20s. In addition to its 1934 debut cream nail polish brand, Q-Tex also developed a line of lipsticks. Q-Tex lipsticks made its debut in 1935 and were available in 4 shades: natural, coral, cardinal, and ruby. Their automated containers included headlines like "Fashion Says Lips" and "Fingertips Now Must Match." Revlon released its own lipsticks in 9 shades, matching the colors of its nail polishes 5 years later in 1939. Charts were provided to Revlon salesgirls so they could tell consumers which shade went with which polish. At first, for Revlon, the company employed colored advertisements as part of its advertising strategy to encourage sales. In order to reflect the fact that it was no longer just a nail company, Revlon changed its name to Revlon Products Corporation. Following the release of lipstick in 1940, the company followed up with Cheek Stick, a cream rouge in stick form, which came with a small packet of tissues to help spread the rouge without staining the fingers. Revlon added a lipstick brush the year after. It wouldn't be the last time that Revson would profit from an idea created by someone else by matching lipstick and nail polish, as Q-Tex has done. Many of the products that Revlon developed were imitations of those made by other cosmetic companies, since Charles Revson was not a creative product genius. When someone else developed a good product, Revson would have it evaluated, make any necessary changes to the formulation, and launch a significant marketing campaign to help promote it. As a salesman for Revlon, Mike Sager pointed this out. "Copy everything and you can't go wrong," he remembers Charles telling him. That way, it was basically Charles' formula for 43 years. You let the competitors do the groundwork and make the mistakes, and when they hit with something good, you make it better, package it better, and advertise it better, and bury your competitors. Late in 1941, the United States joined the Second World War. Revlon made a contribution to the American war effort by putting together first aid kits, producing Navy dye markers, and even producing hand grenades for the Army. When his brother enlisted in the Navy, Charles also lost Martin Revson for the remainder of the conflict. In 1943, Revlon streamlined their product offerings by discontinuing 3 colors of cheek stick and removing 7 shades of nail enamel and matching lipsticks due to supply chain limitations in glass, metal, and various cosmetic materials caused by the war. There were still 17 kinds of nail polish left, and despite the wartime limitations, Revlon continued to develop new hues. Despite the wartime limitations, Revlon still managed to launch a few new products, most notably Revlon Windmilled Face Powder, which was launched in 1943, which was likely created using a method akin to the Coty's Airspun Face Powder, which was first released in 1934, and Revlon released Leg Silk, which was a brief effort into leg makeup. Before starting full-color photographic commercials in 1944, Revlon continued to employ full-color magazine advertisements that were first introduced in 1938. During the Second World War, Revlon boosted its sales and expanded its distribution network, but expansion was constrained by a lack of materials. Nevertheless, by 1947, the business was the biggest seller of lipstick and nail polish worldwide. The formula for Revlon's nail enamel was modified in 1946, and the product was packaged as Lastron in a bottle with a long, lucite-handled brush that, according to the manufacturer, made applying nail polish way easier. And Elastron nail enamel goes on like a breeze, dries in a split second, ends smearing, peeling, chipping, and you have no worries. Everon, a new base coat that Revlon added in 1947, was regrettably manufactured with a lot of formaldehyde resins, which were shown to be strong allergy and sensitizers. Perhaps as a result, Revlon switched from Everon to Pro-Life in 1948 and then added Super Sealer as a top coat in 1950. Super Sealer and Pro-Life were combined by Revlon to launch the Nail Builder line in 1952. The initial Nail Builder sets were available in two variations: Normal, which included Pro-Life base coat, and Super Sealer top coat, and Problem, which included Frosted Pro-Life, a base coat designed specifically for problem nails. Revlon then released the Nail Builder Creamy Cuticle Remover and Nail Builder Cuticle Massage Cream as two additional items to the Nail Builder line in 1953. In 1947, Revlon changed the composition of his lipstick to become All Plus formula and resumed using metal containers with the slogan "Good as Gold." Revlon started referring to his lipsticks as Luscious in 1949, despite the fact that they were typically marketed as irreversible. Along with few other businesses, Revlon unveiled a longer pencil lipstick in November 1947 that used the All Plus formulation. The lip fashion variant from Revlon included a double-angled tip with a narrow edge for outlining the lips and a broad surface for applying filler. It was exactly what it claimed to be: a longer lipstick, not a lip liner. The business created the Fashion Write, a lipstick pen that could apply lipstick at one end and write notes on the other in 1949 by fusing a lip fashion with a ballpoint pen. 1950 saw the addition of the lip mirror as another novelty, both a thick variant of illustrious lipsticks and a slimmer design for lip fashion were available. The Where's the Fire red nail polish and lipstick were first released by Revlon in 1950. Later, the company ran Fire and Ice advertisements. Dorian Lee, one of the earliest supermodels in history, appeared in some of Revlon's most enduring commercials. For Ultraviolet in 1946, Dorian was draped in a light purple sheet and decorated with purple flowers. Dorian had an appearance in Fashion Plates in 1947. She had an appearance in the Cherries in the Snow ad in 1953 at the age of 36. Later the same year, she had an appearance in the renowned Richard Avedon shot Fire and Ice commercial. Dorian initially showed up wearing a tight crimson wraparound dress with silver beading. Her hands, which had long red nails, were in front of her breasts, and her black hair had a silver swirl on it. Avedon's initial advertisement was deemed too sexual by Charles Revson. She held open one palm in front of one hip and the other in front of her cheek as they reshot the advertisement. Because of the full-page quiz next to the sensual advertisement, the advertisement became a Madison Avenue legend. Nearly 50 years later, in November 2010, Revlon announced that they were re-releasing a limited edition Fire and Ice lipstick and nail color under the name Lips and Tips, recreating the 1953 Fire and Ice magazine ad with Jessica Biel. Susie Parker, a redhead 15 years younger than Dorian, also appeared in numerous Revlon magazine advertisements in the 50s. Susie and Charles Revson, who at one point wanted to wed Dorian, hated one another. He once stopped hiring Susie after she complained about the peanut pay she was getting from Revlon. However, after photographing other models for a specific Revlon advertisement, Richard Avedon would abruptly and occasionally late at night bring Susie to the retakes with them. This happened with the Stormy Pink commercial, which Susie shot on the water with a wild white horse extremely late at night. Revson would subsequently hear from Avedon that the model in the advertisement wasn't Susie, but rather Bubbles, or another fictitious moniker. And now let's talk about Revlon and Old Hollywood. So first we have Marilyn Monroe, and Marilyn Monroe wore a lot of Revlon products, as you can see in her makeup case that is in the Max Factor Museum. And so this is proof and documentation that she actually wore these products. So the one product that she liked to use was Revlon Cuticle Oil. She also used Revlon's Cherry in the Snow nail polish. And for lipstick, she wore Revlon's Hot Coral. She also loved Revlon's Bachelor Carnation. And according to Revlon's brand reps, the closest match today would be their super lustrous lipstick in the shade Love That Red. She also wore Revlon's Certainly Red lipstick, Revlon Hot Coral lipstick, and she loved Revlon Kiss Me Coral. And this is the orange red that she wore in the film Something's Gotta Give. And she also loved Revlon Blaze Apricot lipstick. So it's interesting to hear about different old Hollywood actresses that wore Revlon. And we have Audrey Hepburn. So the famous quote, "Hand me my purse, will you, darling?" Holly says, interrupting Paul, "A girl can't read that sort of thing without her lipstick." And this quote is from A Breakfast at Tiffany's. And we will never forget this iconic scene in Breakfast at Tiffany's where Holly Golightly, who was grieving, was applying her signature salmon pink lipstick in the back of a taxi cab. And if you enjoy the film Breakfast at Tiffany's or Audrey Hepburn in general, then you already know that Golightly's lipstick has generated a lot of discussion from bloggers and Reddit threads, and a lot of people are trying to figure out the manufacturer behind this distinctive lipstick. And as a curious fan of this film, I also researched, and there are definitely various hues of this lipstick available. But a lot of people say that the lipstick that she wore is Pink in the Afternoon by Revlon. And you can tell Pink in the Afternoon isn't nearly as peachy or salmon as Golightly's color in the film from first glance, but this was also in Technicolor, which can change the shade, but that isn't the main issue with this mystery. In 2019, Revlon shared a picture of Audrey Hepburn wishing Richard Avedon, the photographer who took most of the 80s Revlon lipstick advertisements, a happy birthday on Facebook. When a fan inquired about the allegations surrounding Revlon's Pink in the Afternoon, a comment on the post inquiring about Revlon's Pink in the Afternoon in a comment on the post, the Revlon account replied, "The rumors are accurate." So maybe they're suggesting she did wear that shade, but I was under the impression that that shade was released in the 80s. The American lipstick wars were started in 1950 when Hazel Bishop launched a major newspaper, radio, and television advertising campaign to promote her Hazel Bishop lasting lipstick. By 1953, Hazel Bishop had added a rouge and nail enamel in addition to snatching over 25% of the American lipstick market. Hazel Bishop's success was largely attributed to the heavy use of television advertisement, a medium Charles Revson did not comprehend and despise, partly because it was broadcast in black and white rather than color. When Coty introduced its 24 lipsticks in 1955 with the slogan "Wake up gorgeous with alive, color shining on your lips," things only got worse for Revlon. It ended up being a significant seller, which further impacted Revlon's sales. Revlon's share of the American lipstick market fell to an all-time low thanks to Hazel Bishop and Coty. By 1960, Revlon had surpassed all of its rivals, even Avon, in terms of lipstick sales, hairspray, nail products, and cosmetics. On December 7th, 1955, Revlon also went public. This was 6 months after the release of the $64,000 question. The share started off at $12 but quickly rose to $30 before it being split in half in 1956. Even though Helena Rubinstein was a rival, she owned shares in Revlon. But Charles Revson suddenly found himself living alone. Martin and Joseph Revson both left the company in 1958. The separations were tumultuous in both situations. Revlon started to become more interested in fragrances. Charles Revson must have paid heed to the success of Estee Lauder's Youth Dew bath oil, launched in 1953, if he hadn't already been persuaded by the value of smell. In 1954, the same year the Fire and Ice perfume launched, Revlon introduced the spray mist version of the fragrance used in the Aquamarine range. Then in 1955, Revlon unveiled Intimate, a perfume that was a knockoff of Miss Dior, which had initially been offered in 1947. The first scent to be promoted in this manner, Revson reluctantly agreed to it being advertised on television. Within a year, it became one of the world's best-selling fragrances.
Give her something in it. It's really a man's fragrance. Intimate by Revlon. Beautiful.
By 1960, Revlon had become one of the biggest cosmetic companies in the United States. Only Avon had larger overall sales. Rather than being happy about this, Charles Revson was worried. Revson was aware of the distinction between a fashion item and a commodity. A fashion item could be thrown away long before the product was used up, and competitors distinguished their products via innovation and marketing expertise, with a product that was priced correspondingly. A commodity was used until it was finished, and competitors often competed on price. Since nail enamels and lipsticks were mostly about color, Revson could promote them as fashion accessories, with new hues debuting every spring and fall. Revlon was able to charge a premium for them because they were heavily advertised and sold through packaging, displays, and promotional ties with department stores and fashion publications. In the 1950s, Revlon was a relatively high-end nail polish and lipstick brand, but by the end of the decade, it was mostly a mass marketer. The success of its television and advertising played a major role in this, but the addition of additional products that were more challenging to market as fashion accessories also played a role. Recognizing this issue, Revson fought to keep Revlon, or at least some of the company, as a premium brand. Contrary to what Charles Revson had envisioned, the TV campaign increased Revlon's revenues while simultaneously elevating the brand's mass appeal over its class. He pleaded and wanted to keep it at least the mix between mass and class, which he had achieved through a combination of limited distribution, opulent packaging, and higher than average pricing. However, it was undeniable that class was the one thing Revlon was losing in the process of expansion. Revlon made steps to increase brand recognition during the following 20 years, including sponsoring the television program The $64,000 Question in 1965 and appointing model and actress Laura Hutton as its first brand ambassador in 1973. Laura Hutton signed an exclusive modeling deal in 1973, promising to appear on the Newsweek cover and model Revlon's Ultima line for $400,000 over 2 years. The brand had hired Richard Avedon as its only photographer. In the 1970s, Revlon established itself as a major player in the beauty and cosmetics industry. The Revlon brand boomed during this era, with their iconic spokesmodel Laura Hutton at the helm of their groundbreaking campaigns. Revlon had become a symbol for the modern woman, liberated, independent, and confident. Many breakthrough innovations to makeup techniques emerged from Revlon over the course of 2 decades that were attributed to its active collaborations with the leading beauty experts in the industry. Revlon's string of success truly cemented its legacy as one of the most popular department store brands worldwide, and has held a special place in the heart of makeup lovers ever since.
Color Silk Hair Color from Revlon. Beautiful.
Aimed for consumers under 30, the perfume Charlie was first released by Revlon in 1973 and marketed by a model wearing pants named Shelley Hack. Revlon's net sales after Charlie's launch was $506 million in 1973 and $606 million the following year. And you may think of the Charlie line as Revlon's 7th line. Following the popularity of the Charlie fragrance, it was introduced in 1974. The line of cosmetics featured all the typical makeup accessories, as well as a full skincare line.
Charlie by Revlon, a most original fragrance.
Revlon was the first American cosmetics firm to use the iconic Naomi Sims as a model in their advertising in 1970. When Revlon launched the Polished Ambers collection, a line of cosmetics designed particularly for women of color, in the late 1970s, and chose fashion star Iman to appear in the promotional ads. They also made history. In the 80s, Revlon was renowned for showcasing models of all ages, from 13-year-old Mila Jovovich to 60-year-old Audrey Hepburn. Despite the popularity of Cindy Crawford's campaigns in the 80s and 90s, Revlon decided to focus on movie stars, including Kate Bosworth, Halle Berry, Melanie Griffith, Julianne Moore, to name a few. When Charles Revson died in 1975, Revlon's net sales were $749 million, with net earnings of $62 million. Revlon submitted paperwork for its initial public offering in 1996 and debuted on the New York Stock Exchange. Revlon maintained its momentum over the ensuing years with a number of eye-catching advertisement campaigns into the 90s and early 2000s. Revlon, a cosmetics and beauty company founded in the 30s, experienced tremendous growth over its lifetime. Led by CEO Charles Revson, Revlon expanded its product lines and underwent numerous acquisitions, even rivaling larger corporations such as Avon. Despite Revson's astute business decisions, Revlon eventually went through a period of decline and instability as the 1980s ended. Revson's death in July 1975 began an unstable period for Revlon, where multiple CEOs tried to competently lead the company but failed to produce meaningful results. This lack of focus caused Revson's once flourishing empire to flounder until the company was entirely taken over by Mac Andrews and Forbes Groups in 1985. The rise and fall of Revlon was ultimately a success story gone wrong. From explosive growth to fleeting glory, Revlon had seen it all until it was eventually consumed into another's holding. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you want me to cover any other vintage cosmetic brands. Alright, see you again soon. Bye!